today's webinar is about mood and memory, and they're actually quite closely linked. And there's many mechanisms that I'm sure that they're related to. But today we're going to we're going to discuss the microbiome, but more importantly to today's discussion is something called BDNF, which stands for Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor. And this is something that is lower, that actually declines with age, from the age of 25. So it's not like we're talking about old, from the age of 25. So that's going to affect most people in their 30s and 40s. And you might not notice, but it is actually declining. And it's been quite closely related with memory and also with mood. So it's, in some circles, you'll actually see it being called fertilizer for the brain, because it can actually help to grow new brain cells, specifically in the memory center of the brain, which is called the hippocampus. So, and it's been shown, there's quite a few strong studies that have shown that we can increase BDNF levels. So therefore we can increase our memory. And BDNF is also seems to be related to mood as well. So if we're increasing our BDNF levels, then it also stands to reason that we are also improving our memory. Can only be a good thing, right? Who doesn't want that? And it's also, especially for MSers, it's also been linked that that BDNF can help repair existing neurons and may actually help with remyelination. But there's been no studies that have directly linked any activity related to BDNF that have shown that an activity related to BDNF in human MS trials has directly caused remyelination. But there are a lot of studies that show that numerous activities can increase BDNF. And there's been studies in MS trials that activities can increase BDNF. And there's been separate trials that BDNF may cause remyelination, which is kind of the holy grail of MS. So chase your BDNF and increase your BDNF. And I'm gonna I've got a few slides, and I'm just gonna show that there are certain groups of people that tend to have lower BDNF. So we'll get into that. I'm going to share a few slides. Don't worry, not too many. It's mainly just with diagrams, so it just helps you visualize what I'm talking about. This is what we're talking about: memory and mood. A quick overview, what we're going to talk about today. So I've already mentioned quite a few about the possible link between memory and mood. And I've just got a diagram in a minute that kind of shows it visually. So it could help you, visualize it and understand it. And if you've got any questions at any point, then add them to the comments and I'll get back to you. So yeah, possible links between memory and mood. And one of the links is your microbiome, so your gut bugs. And this has a huge effect. So you may have heard of the gut-brain axis. So this is related to that. And this is a huge topic, so I'm not going to go into it in great detail, but just be aware that it has an impact on both memory and mood. Also, as I just mentioned previously, BDNF has an impact on both memory via the hippocampus, remember the memory center of our brain, because it can actually increase the number of brain cells, so increase the volume and size of the hippocampus. Because it used to be thought that the adult brain it didn't change, it only declined. But now we know that the adult brain does produce new brain cells throughout life. And it gets less with age, but there are ways that we can increase it. And I'm going to mention a few of those towards the end of the presentation. But it's really quick, don't worry, you won't have long to wait. But so it's worth staying on. And also at the very end, I've got a link to 10 memory boosting and mood boosting tips. So stay on to the end and I'll give you a link that you can send them for. So, and yeah, I mentioned, so at the end, we're going to look at how to boost your BDNF, so therefore your memory and your mood. This is the diagram, but it just visually explains a little bit more. So these are groups that tend to have lower BDNF. So it's actually been shown that in pregnancy, like as pregnancy progresses, that BDNF levels actually decline. So in the second trimester, BDNF levels are lower, and in the third trimester, they're even lower. But as soon as the baby is born, then it seems to rebound. So that could be an explanation for baby brain during pregnancy. Baby brain after pregnancy seems to be more related to stress. And stress, I'm going to mention later, can actually inhibit BDNF. So this again could be all related, that why new mothers may experience baby brain or poor memory. And the other group, as I've already mentioned, is as we age. So as we age, our BDNF levels actually decline, they actually get lower. And it's thought that this happens from the age of just 25, so not that old at all. And it does continue to decline throughout as we age. But we can influence this. So we can increase our BDNF levels. And this is so important to remember. It's not inevitable that your BDNF levels and your memory just decline. You can improve it. And there are some tips at the end, some really easy tips. And they've been scientifically proven again and again that these can improve your BDNF levels and your memory and your mood. And the other group is MSs. Unfortunately, in MS, it is slightly, BDNF has been shown to be slightly lower. So again, the exercises for increasing your BDNF is probably even more important if you have MS. And this, so I mentioned previously, and I'll talk about it again. So it has been shown there's a link here between microbiome and BDNF. And it's a dotted line because there aren't any human trials that confirm this. But in animal studies, it's been shown that animals that have no gut bacteria, so no microbiome, it's been shown that this really affects their BDNF levels, so their BDNF levels are a lot lower. It's not quite been worked out like how this happens or why this happens, because BDNF is mainly produced by your neurons. So it doesn't have a direct link to the microbiome, but it seems to be there is an effect there, because when the microbiome is missing, then BDNF levels are lower in mice. It hasn't been, you can't really do a study like that to a human. You can't remove a human's microbiome. So, but this has been shown in mice. So, and I don't think there's been any probiotic studies. There has been probiotic studies that have shown that probiotics can improve memory, which is really exciting. I think these trials have been done in Alzheimer's patients, and also, I think I'm right in saying they've been done in MSs, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But probiotics may help, and this may be via this mechanism of, maybe by the mechanism of BDNF, perhaps the microbiome is increasing BDNF, or there may be other or multiple mechanisms that microbiome can affect the memory, because it's never with the body. There's never just one way of doing something. It's like driving a car or on a destination. There's never just one route somewhere. There's multiple routes to get to the same destination. So this is like the body. The body has multiple ways of achieving the same aim. So it could be that it's via BDNF, or there may be many other avenues and routes that are taken via the gut-brain axis. So, but it's very important. So you can see there is this strong link between the microbiome, BDNF, and microbiome and memory. And in pregnancy, as I said, it seems to be that BDNF is lower. And I haven't researched this in depth, so I'm not sure if pregnancy has an effect on the microbiome, but it definitely has an effect on BDNF. And with age, I have seen research that age, the microbiome changes. I'm not sure if the microbiome gets more inflammatory or not, or whether those effects are detrimental to memory. But I have seen that age does affect the microbiome. I'm not sure if that's negative, but age, as I've said, has definitely, you will see a decline in BDNF. And again, this is all related. So BDNF is related to mood and memory. And finally, MS. MS has definitely been associated with an inflammatory microbiome. So this may have an effect on memory, and it has been shown that, I'm not sure if the research has been done directly of whether probiotics can actually improve or has any effect on memory in MSs. But I do know that probiotic studies have been done in MS, and the results have been positive. But I can't remember if they were just looking at inflammatory markers, or whether they were looking at memory and BDNF as well. I'm not sure. But again, MS does have an effect on BDNF. So BDNF tends to be lower. And you can increase it with things like exercise. Exercise is the number one thing you can do to improve and increase your BDNF levels, and therefore increase your mood. And exercise has also been shown to have a positive effect on your microbiome. So this is a win-win. Things like exercise positively affect your BDNF, positively affects your microbiome. So therefore, it's going to have a doubly positive effect on both memory and mood. So exercise is the number one thing you can do to boost everything, whether this is in pregnancy or with age or with MS. And there was a really interesting study done on really late pregnancy, and I'm talking about 32 to 36 weeks. So quite amazed they could get them to do exercise. I think they were on just like an elliptical machine, so obviously quite low impact. But they did do exercise, and they did show that this very late pregnancy, exercise still increased BDNF levels. So no matter what situation you're in, exercise can boost your BDNF levels, will have a positive effect on your microbiome, so therefore have a positive effect on both memory and mood. So you may have heard of cortisol, and cortisol is quite often described as the stress hormone. And this is because it is just that. So when you're stressed, you do produce cortisol. And cortisol we do require like a certain amount of cortisol, and it does follow like a daily rhythm. Cortisol tends to be higher in the morning and then declines throughout the day. But it's when you're chronically stressed that cortisol remains high constantly, and then this has a detrimental effect on your body, including it can actually prevent the production or the release of BDNF. And there has been research studies that have shown that as cortisol goes up and BDNF goes down. So when you're stressed, it means that you find it more difficult to create new memories, so actually to store and retain information. And you may have noticed this when you're stressed, you're a bit like, I can't take anything in. So that could be a reason why. So there's a few tips that follow, and these can help reduce cortisol and increase BDNF, so therefore have a beneficial effect on memory and mood. Exercise is the number one thing you can do to boost BDNF, reduce cortisol, and therefore increase your mood and your memory. So it increases BDNF. It has beneficial anti-inflammatory, it can have beneficial anti-inflammatory effects on your microbiome, and that again, so it's going to have a double whammy effect on increasing your memory, improving your memory, and may improve your mood as well. And a double bonus point if you can exercise with friends, because friends have also been shown, just the company of friends have also been shown to improve your BDNF levels and your feel-good factor and reduce your cortisol. So these are all beneficial effects. So it's always great when you can combine two beneficial activities in one. So time saving and double the effect, or not, maybe not double. That hasn't been quantified, but more effect. And I've got a 10 memory boosting tips for you at the end. And it's always really interesting to see how many activities you can combine in one, so that you get multiple memory boosting effects in one go. So as I was saying, with friends, if you can do activities with friends, and this includes like eating enjoyable activities, so going for exercise, going out walking in nature. So greenery has a positive effect on your stress levels, and as you reduce cortisol, you increase BDNF. So walking with friends in the outside, in the green, this could have a beneficial effect. Then there is my favorite, chocolate. So what we're talking about here are plant compounds called flavonoids, and they are super antioxidant, and they actually have I think they have, well, it depends on the flavonoids, but they have I'm going to stick to the research, but it's been shown that cocoa, high flavonoid coconut and cocoa powder has a beneficial effect on memory. And also berries are quite high in flavonoids. So anything that's really deeply colored will contain a lot of flavonoids, So it's worth eating brightly colored fruit and vegetables such as berries, or maybe a lovely stir fry with lots of dark leafy greens, maybe some carrots, and anything that's deeply colored, then that can have beneficial effect on your memory and your cortisol, especially if you cook with friends. And then maybe have something dark chocolatey for dessert. Lovely. So I hope that's given you some ideas. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Always love to hear from you. And thank you very much. So I'm going to put this link in the comments below as well. This is where you can go to get your 10 memory boosting tips. And there's more tips, like I mentioned, to help boost your BDNF levels, reduce your cortisol, and also to help work your brain. So if you actually activate your brain, you're actually working your hippocampus. You're trying to store memories, so you're activating your brain. So it may be that you're stimulating BDNF, increased BDNF production. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. And this is me. This is what working on my memory did for me. It actually helped me study for my nutritional science degree. I got first class honours. And yeah, this is me when I graduated. And this was in the summer. So in July 2018. after I'd been diagnosed with MS for nearly 11 years. So you can improve your memory at any point. Just take some time, just look after yourself, do some memory boosting activities, eat nourishing, flavonoid rich food, and maybe you can achieve whatever you want to achieve as long as you put your mind to it and put the work in. Very, very best of luck. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you can achieve anything you want to as well.